show on which we will ideate, we'll discuss, and we'll identify ideas which can really help you create wealth. Money and wealth. Well, wealth is what we would be focusing on. But before we do that, here's a look at some market trends. Call it seasonality, call it FOMO from foreign institutional investors. Dalal Street has extended its bull run for the 6th trading session on the trot. Nifty is now closing towards 21,000. Can you believe that? And Bank Nifty outperformance, the one everybody has been waiting and anticipating and predicting, finally seems to be coming true. The I told you so moment for Indian banking sector. And at fresh high, there is a divergence there because of what's happening to IT, where globally things are on a back foot and metals are also underperforming. So it's all about local cues, defense, banks, really local sectors which are making all the difference. So what are we discussing? What are trends which we would be discussing threadbare? Number one, are foreign institutional investors making a comeback? Are FIIs banking on policy continuity? And will foreign institutional investors keep markets really buoyant in terms of the market setup? So let's first look at foreign institutional investors and what they are essentially doing in terms of the template. So the first big question is, are FIs back? Second thing which we would be addressing today for you is of course what happens to the IPO market. But let's stay with the FI story. Now if one looks at the YTD flow into India, interestingly, Indian markets have not been the largest recipient of flows, much lower than Japan and only double of that of India. Even though if you compare double of that of South Korea, I beg your pardon. If you compare Japan and South Korea, two very divergent economies, one is coming out of a recession, the other one has got a lot of local concerns. China, even though the China narrative has been negative this year, the Chinese markets have done rather well for themselves in terms of the absolute flows and the positioning of the market. That I think is very, very important in terms of the setting on the table. So with foreign institutional investors making a comeback, are we in for a very different kind of trajectory for the market per se? And with Kunal also, we would be discussing that aspect. With Kunal also, we also would be discussing, if the bull run continues, how exactly the delivery and the FI volume will increase. So Kunal, I'm just going to walk up to you and let's discuss this trend. You got your pen ready, right? This is a YTD flow. This is Japan, this is global, correct, and this is India. Now we are only 40% of what Japan has got. And we are double that of South Korea.
Correct.
Even though in terms of pedestal positioning, we are right up here. If India becomes here, right, we could be looking at a large flow coming into next year. Then what happens?
Well, absolutely, yes. And in fact, even if we break down this number for India in 15,000 crores, I think it's still very less quantum. And the larger chunk of this has actually happened in the last 2-3 months, where there's been some built up of money which is flowing into our markets. And as you rightly mentioned, if this number shoots up higher, then we are not just looking at a full-fledged bull market, but we are looking at that underperformance of the large cap names being covered up significantly. I think that's the much more bigger point over here.
So let's translate that into the Bank Nifty. Now foreign institutional investors, they love to own banks.
Exactly.
HDFC Bank, ICICI Bank, even for that matter, SBI also they are buying now.
Correct.
But they also own IT. So what are the chances that flows this time actually will make back into banks disproportionately, and normal flows which come into IT this time may not come in? So what you actually may see, that you may actually see more numbers like these, and suddenly the Bank Nifty will be galloping. It will not be crawling. It will be galloping. And
that's what exactly we've seen in Nikunj over the last 2-3 days, where we've seen Bank Nifty moving up higher. When did we see participation of HDFC Bank, ICICI Bank, Kotak Bank, Axis, IndusInd Bank, all of them together in the last 3-4 months? I think that's what we were always discussing and asking about, but we've seen that happening, which clearly indicates that there's a tilt which is definitely come back from the FIIs towards these large cap private sector banking names. As compared to the first point, whether the IT stocks, I believe that maybe we are maybe a month or away for these IT stocks to start getting that kind of a favorite liking from the FII perspective. But I strongly believe that as of now, it's banks all along the way.
So let's look at the YTD graph of the Bank Nifty and the Nifty IT index. So even the Nifty IT does not trade, so you cannot have a real derivative established there. It is only a sum of total of what happens to other IT stocks. So obviously the volatility is not going to be there because it is a representation of what's happening in IT, and IT is not a very volatile sector. But that's the Bank Nifty for you. It has underperformed the Nifty.
Yes.
Let's look at the IT index. It's been a tough year for the IT index, but despite the fact that all the bad news has come for IT is not like come crashing down. This year IT, in fact, when you look at the data, you said OMG.
No, but and in fact the largest portion of percentage over there is because of the mid-cap IT names.
Whatever, bottom line is the index is up. I mean,
Correct.
bank maybe we don't say SBI and HDFC Bank. No, index is index, right?
Correct.
So whether DLF drives the real estate index or whether IT is getting mid-cap IT, bottom line here is banks this year have underperformed IT.
Correct.
The narrative for bank is the strongest I have seen in a long time.
Yes.
Right. The narrative for IT is one of the weakest we've seen in a long time.
Correct.
But market with the Ganga ulti beh rahi hai.
Correct.
If you bought the favorites banks, you've not made money. If you bought IT, you've actually, if you did not sell IT, you've made money.
Correct.
How ironical is that?
Yeah, that's the irony of markets.
Okay. Now let's look at HDFC Bank and I want to look at SBI. Why they both are sumos, one PSU, other private. If you believe, which we believe, that FIs will make a comeback, then will it be SBI, deep value, or will it be HDFC Bank, which is everyone's favorite? I always jokingly say that for me to find a bear on to find a bear in SBI, it is not difficult. The street is right divided. But to find a bear in HDFC Bank, I'll have to go to Baikala Zoo. But there is no single bear available in HDFC Bank, at least on the street. Everybody likes it. So let's go back to SBI and let's go back to HDFC Bank. Now I'm just going to say that if you work with an assumption that our fair weather friends, kahan rahe gaye, when they are back, will it be HDFC Bank, will it be SBI? Because we are basing this entire premise of market rally on FI comeback.
See, I think there are a lot of nitty-gritties over here, Nikunj, because HDFC Bank commands the highest weightage in terms of the market weight. So I'm not sure whether funds, FIIs would be allowed to have a higher proportion over here for an already heavy-weighted stock. But I think, yes, SBI, ICICI Bank, I think is also another top favorite, which I believe is also gaining a good traction in the last few days. I think that's also another name to look at.
Make a portfolio of these three stocks and keep it simple.
Exactly.
30% allocation SBI, 30% IDFC Bank, 30% ICICI Bank, and 30% SBI.
Correct.
That's first leg.
That's
if
the
one
first
wants to add in Axis.
I didn't IndusInd Bank.
So Axis, IndusInd Bank,
Other,
SBI,
yes.
HDFC Bank, some may 20%.
Correct.
Okay. So let's look at ICICI Bank, done nothing. IndusInd Bank has been like a late bloomer and Axis Bank has been late bloomer. So technically, Kunal, correct me if I'm wrong. What we are saying is that when FIs will come back, the late bloomers is where the momentum will be highest.
Yes.
And that could be in IndusInd Bank and Axis.
Yes, and this will be more sustainable. That's the best part about it. It's not going to be volatile. It's not going to be that you're seeing 10% kind of a gain and then the next day everything falls down. It's going to be very slow, very steady, very gradual, and hence